Namaskar, Pranam, and welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Arvidi, and this is going to be the next lecture in my playlist Placement Interview Questions on C Programming, where C Programming is simplified. So, in this lecture, we will be looking at the math library. Okay, in the previous lectures, only we have finished the concept of operators, and that too in a very detailed manner. So the only thing that is now left for us to build the expression is knowledge of math library. So in this particular video, we'll be looking at the math library and some of the typical functions which are very frequently used. Let me tell you that math library contains a lot of functions. I have selected some of the typical functions which are required to be known or which are significant. So let us start with the video and with the concept of math library in C programming. So, first of all, how exactly C programming or C language provides this math library, or for that matter, how exactly the libraries are provided by C, because this is the first time we are looking at any particular library. So the concept goes like this. C has already created a lot of inbuilt functions, or we can call them as library functions, and all the similar library functions are being grouped together in the form of header files. So what we have with us is a header file. For every concept we have a header file, and that header file contains functions related to that particular concept. Similarly, when it comes to math library, we have a header file math.h. .h indicates that it's a header file. So all the mathematical related functions which are already available with C are being stored in this particular header file math.h. So when we'll see the program, you would always see that if at all I require to use any of this math library function, I'll be including this math.h file in my program. Now what do you mean by including? How do we include and all? We would be looking at very soon when we'll start with small programs. Okay, but for the time being, let us focus on what is math library and how exactly we can use, or what are the different functions we can use from math library. Okay, so as I said, there are a variety of functions. So the file contains variety of mathematical functions which we can broadly categorize into three categories. The first one is called as trigonometric functions. The second one could be hyperbolic functions, and the third one can be considered as general functions. Okay, you can clearly understand that general functions are the one which we generally use or very widely use. Right, so let us have a look at them one by one. So starting with the first one, trigonometric functions. The basic trigonometric functions that we need are sine, cos, tan, and which are being given very straightforward. So you can see the function sine in bracket x. Okay, let me just select a pen for giving you examples. So if you see this function sine in bracket x, the only constraint that we have is x must be in radians. Generally we work in degrees, but be very careful whenever you are using the function sine in your C programming. The argument expected by sine function is the angle, but in radians. So for example, we will use this particular part for giving example. If at all I want to write sine 30 as we generally write, okay, in this particular radians form, it has to be pi by 6. Now you know what is pi? Pi is 3.14. So pi by 6, pi is 180, okay, when it comes to radians. So pi by 6 has to be calculated, and for 30, that is the argument which should be given. Okay, so whenever it comes to trigonometric functions, all the angles which we have to satisfy, which you have to pass as argument must be in radians. So sine of x is going to give you sine of the angle, cos x is going to give you cos or cosine, and tangent can be computed using tan function. Okay, so these are the straight functions. We also have the inverse functions. So a sine of x stands for arc sine. Okay, that gives you sine inverse of x. So as you know the trigonometry, it is going to give you the angle whose sine value is x. So if at all I give you if at all I calculate the sine 30, whatever value it takes, suppose x, and if that x is fed to a sine, the answer I'll be getting is obviously not 30 but pi by 6. Okay, because it deals with radians, as I already said. Similarly, we'll have cos inverse being given by a cos of x. Tan inverse is given by a tan x. But we also have one more variant of tan inverse. It could be a tan 2 of x comma y, which is going to give you tan inverse of x by y. So this is a specific separate function which is being kept. So as far as tan inverse are concerned, we have two set of functions. A tan x gives you tan inverse of x with a single argument, and a tan 2 in bracket x comma y is going to give you tan inverse of x by y. So these are nothing but the trigonometric functions from math.h. Let's go ahead and look at the second type of functions. So second type of functions are hyperbolic functions. They're nothing to do at our level as such. We know there are something called as hyperbolic ratios, and for that hyperbolic functions can be used. So if I want hyperbolic sine of the given angle, sine h of x. If I want the hyperbolic cos, then cos h of x. And for the hyperbolic tan, we have tan h of x. Okay, there is some formula like e raised to minus x plus e raised to x upon 2 and all, which gives you, in some variety, it gives you sin h and cos h. So similar to that, instead of going into the depth of the formula, I can use the ready-made functions which are being provided by C programming. If at all, while doing program, I require such ratios to be computed. Fine, so this particular provision is being given by C programming. Let's move ahead. The next set of functions, that I already said, are going to be general functions. Okay, so these are set of general functions. Let's try to understand them one after the other. Okay, so the first one is SQRT. Okay, so you will see the list of general functions are the functions which are being heavily used or very frequently used in programming. And for converting a lot of mathematical expressions into programming expressions along with the operators, you also are going to require these functions. So SQRT, it is obviously going to calculate the square root of x, right? The only constraint, which is the very obvious constraint, is the value of x, that is the argument, must be non-negative. Because you know that if at all I try to calculate the square root of a negative number, it is not going to be a real value. So it goes out of domain because it leaves the real domain. So you would be getting domain error. Okay, and the program obviously will be abruptly closed. So that particular care must be taken. Power function is going to be used for calculation of power x raised to y. Okay, so power x comma y is going to give you that. Again, here we have no restriction of x being integer or y being integer, nothing like that. I can very well have x and y both as what? As float or as real numbers. Okay, for example, suppose I do this power 3, 2. Obviously, I'll be getting 9 or rather 9.000 because it gives you the answer in a real form or in a double form, as you will see later on. But I can also have power 0.3, 2, which is going to give you the answer as 0.09. Not only that, if at all I do power, let's say 9, 0.5. Okay, now you know what is 0.5 means, half. It means as good as taking a square root. So 9 square root, you will be getting 3. So I can even have my x being a float or a fraction, as well as this y also can be fraction. Okay, this is about power function. Then we have exp, which gives you e raised to x. E is a natural base which has some value of 2.7, which is very frequently used in your mathematics. So if I want e raised to x directly being taken, which we require or which we use frequently, we have a separate function exp for that. We have log x. So when we only use log function, we have two varieties, log and log 10. So if I use log x, it calculates log of x by default by using base e. Whereas if I use this function, log 10 in bracket x, is going to get the log of x to the base 10. So that's how logarithms can be calculated. As far as the rounding are concerned, we have ceil and floor functions. As the name suggests, ceil which acts as a ceiling, is going to round up by default, whereas floor is going to round down. So round up x to the nearest integer is the job of ceil, and round down x to the nearest integer is the job of floor. For example, maybe if at all I do ceil in bracket, let's say 2.1. Okay, purposely I have taken this answer, this particular example. 2.1, if at all I do rounding by normal rounding rules, is going to be 2. You know, if it is 0.4 or maybe less than 0.5, then it is rounded down. 0.5 or more, it is rounded up. But these are normal rounding rules. See, the function is ceil. It doesn't know the rounding rules. It only knows one rule. It has to be rounded up. Okay, so the nearest integers to 2.1 are 2 as well as 3. But when it has to be rounded up, the answer has to be 3. Similarly for floor, even if I have something like that 8.9, still is going to give you the floor answer as 8. So can we say floor is as good as doing what? Truncation. You know, it discards the fraction part and it only gives you the integer part. That can be done by floor function. Fine? Okay, sorry. We have some more functions to go ahead. So ceil is for rounding up, floor is for rounding down. Fmod, or before that maybe I can just give you the simple one. Abs stands for absolute value. You know, absolute value is always positive. So if I want to find the absolute value of the given number or given argument, I'll be putting that in abs. Okay, if you have a rarest chance that the value could be negative and I don't want to use the negative value, I still want to use its positive part of it, so I can put such value in abs. A lot of mathematical formulae we require to preserve the positive side of the particular expression. So even if it is going into negative, I just want to take the positive part of it. So all such things could be done by putting that in abs. Okay, that is abs. Abs is when we generally work with integer. If you want to work with float, then it takes the different version called fabs. Stands for we are going to have a floating point argument. Okay, now what we left with is fmod. Fmod is for finding the modulus. Okay, if you remember, we had used percent of sign as a remainder operator, but there is a constraint that it cannot work with floating point. So for example, let's say 8.7, okay, hold on, 8.7 mod 1.2. Now ideally 12 7s are 84, so ideally it should be 0.3, but this will be invalid. You know why? Because my percent operator, my modulus operator, remainder operator cannot work with fraction values. The solution to that is fmod. So if I do fmod and if I put 8.7, pardon me, 8.7 and 1.2, then it is going to give you the answer as 0.3. How you got 0.3? It is obviously 12 7s are 84, so 1.2 7s are 8.4, so what we left with is 0.3. So again, that's wonderful. For some reason, if you require to calculate the remainder by performing division of fractions, you know, earlier you had no option, but now because of the introduction of fmod, you have the option of fmod. So if you've seen, we have covered, or rather we have uncovered all the general functions which I had kept for you. Again, if you want to visit, you can visit mat.h in your any of the editor. You'll be able to see the list of functions in every library, every header file. All the library functions you can see. So you can very well check the list of mat.h functions, and you will find there are many more. But for minimizing the scope, I had listed the most significant one, and I hope all of you have got the basic understanding about the math library functions. Just to summarize, we had seen that all mathematical functions are being given in a header file math.h. Before that, I also gave you the mechanism how C works. It has created header files. Like first one we had seen is math.h. As we move ahead, we are going to see string.h. We are also going to see ctype.h. We are also going to see malloc.h and whatnot. For input, we have stdio.h. For console, we have conio.h and so on. So currently, we had just seen mat.h because every header file contains all the function related to that particular domain. So all mathematical functions I got to see in math.h. We had seen three categories: trigonometric, hyperbolic, and general function. Okay, and we've seen that most of the general functions are going to be something which we will require for performing or rather creating programming expressions. Okay, so that's going to be the next video where I would show you how to convert mathematical expressions into programming expressions. Because whenever we get a problem, we will be getting mathematical expressions in the problem. But whenever we have to convert that to a program, we have to convert the mathematical expression into programming expression. And that also requires significant efforts and a good understanding. Okay, so you can very well look forward to my next video, which is going to be about building programming expressions. Okay, so as far as math.h is concerned, that's it from my side. You can very well revise and keep it ready. Now slowly we are heading towards the programming concepts as such, and we will be soon starting with small programs as well. Fine, so that's it for this particular video. Thank you and happy learning.